Hello everyone, and welcome to today's video. Today's video is a very special one as I have two scary Hmong townhome stories to share with you all today. Before we get started, consider becoming a YouTube member by clicking that join button. Also, leave a like and subscribe so I can support my adult beverage addiction. And without further ado, enjoy the show. This first story did not happen to me directly, but it happened to my cousin and her husband in Merced, California. I'm sharing it because I was one of the first people she told after they moved out. And even now, when our family brings it up, she gets quiet and changes the subject. I will call my cousin B. B and her husband were still young at the time, in their late 20s. They had two kids, one boy and a girl, and they were trying to save money for a house. Anyone who has family in California knows how expensive everything can be. So, when they found a townhome in Merced that was cheaper than a lot of places around it, they took it right away. It wasn't a bad place. That was what made it hard for them to believe that anything was wrong. It was a two-story townhome with a quiet row of units. The front door opened into a small living room. Behind the living room was the kitchen and dining area. There was a sliding glass door that went out to a small fenced patio. And upstairs, there were two bedrooms, one bathroom, and a linen closet at the end of the hall. The stairs were right next to the living room, so if you were sitting on the couch, you could see halfway up the steps. The neighbors were mostly working families. Some were Hmong, some were Hispanic, and some were older people who had lived there for years. B told me that when they first moved in, she actually felt happy. It wasn't fancy, but it felt like a real place for her family. Her kids had their own room, her husband had parking close to the door, and she could cook without feeling cramped. At first, everything felt normal. The first strange thing was the hallway light upstairs. B said that every night before bed, her husband would walk around and turn off the lights. He was very strict about saving electricity, but almost every morning, the upstairs hallway light would be on. At first, B blamed the kids. Her daughter was 7 and her son was 4, so it made sense. Kids wake up at night, and they get scared, and maybe they need to go to the bathroom, and they forget to turn off the lights. One morning, she asked her kids, "Who keeps turning on the hallway light?" Both of her kids said that they did not do it. Her husband kind of laughed and said that maybe she was the one doing it and forgetting. B said that she knew it wasn't her, but she didn't argue. It was just a hallway light. It wasn't enough to scare anybody. A few weeks later, the same thing started happening with the linen closet. The closet door was at the end of the upstairs hallway. It was one of those sliding doors that never fully stayed on track. They kept extra blankets, towels, and a small basket of medicine in there. Every once in a while, B would come upstairs and find the closet open, just a little bit. Not wide open, just enough where you could see darkness behind the towels. She thought that maybe the door was uneven, so she pushed it shut. Later, it would be open again. Again, nothing scary, just annoying. Then her son started waking up at night. He would come downstairs to their room at around 2 or 3 in the morning and stand by the foot of the bed while B and her husband were sleeping. They didn't keep their door locked just in case their kids needed something. Her son didn't cry. He would just stand there until somebody opened their eyes. B said that the first time it happened, she almost yelled because she woke up and saw a small figure beside her in the dark. She asked him, "What are you doing? Go back to bed." He said, "The auntie keeps opening the closet." B said that she got chills right away, but she tried to act normal. She asked, "What auntie?" He pointed toward the stairs and said, "The one upstairs." Her husband woke up and told him that there was no auntie upstairs, and that he probably had a dream. Her husband took him back to bed, checked the kids' room, checked the closet, and checked everything. It all looked normal. The closet door was closed that time, and the hallway light was off. After that, B tried to forget about it. She told herself that her son probably saw shadows and called it an auntie for some strange reason. One evening, Bee was folding laundry in the living room while the kids were playing upstairs. Her husband was at work and she heard her daughter talking in the bedroom, but her voice sounded like she was answering someone. Bee thought that she was playing with her brother, but then her son came downstairs holding a toy car. He sat next to Bee and watched TV. Bee still heard her daughter talking upstairs. She called up, "Who are you talking to?" Her daughter replied, "Nobody." Bee said that already bothered her because every parent knows that when a kid says nobody too fast, something is up. She went upstairs and found her daughter sitting in the middle of the bedroom floor with her dolls lined up in a circle. A little weird. The closet door across the hall was open again. Her daughter looked normal, not scared. Bee asked, "Were you talking by yourself?" Her daughter shrugged and said, "She asked me why we live here." Bee felt her stomach drop. She asked her who asked her that, and her daughter pointed toward the hallway and said, "The auntie, with the long hair." That was when Bee stopped pretending that it was nothing. She took both of her kids downstairs and waited for her husband to get home. When she told him, he did not want to jump straight to ghosts. He said that maybe the kids had watched something scary, or maybe someone in the neighborhood told them something. Bee told me that during that time, she appreciated that her husband tried to be logical because honestly, she wanted it to be something normal too. So they did what normal parents would do. They changed the kids' bedtime routine, they left a nightlight in the kids' room, and they made sure no scary movies or videos were playing. They shut the hallway closet tightly and even put a folded piece of cardboard in the track so it would not slide open by itself. For about a week, nothing happened. Then, one night, at around 1 a.m., Bee and her husband woke up to footsteps upstairs. Their kids were asleep in the living room that night because it was hot upstairs. They had fallen asleep watching a movie together. Bee remembered this clearly because both children were on the floor, right in front of the TV. So, when they heard footsteps moving across the upstairs hallway, both adults sat up at the same time. It sounded like bare feet walking from the kids' room to the linen closet. As they got closer to the closet, they heard the closet door slide open. Bee said that the sound wasn't loud, but in the quiet house, it felt like it was right next to her ear. Her husband reached over and turned off the TV so they could listen. The footsteps stopped. For a few seconds, there was nothing. Then, they heard a woman's voice whisper something upstairs. Bee could not understand the words. She said it was low and too soft, but it was definitely a woman, not the TV since it was off. It definitely sounded like a person. Her husband stood up and quietly grabbed a flashlight from the kitchen drawer. Bee told him to not go upstairs, but he said he had to check because if it was a person, then they had a bigger problem than a ghost. He turned on the lights and went up slowly. Bee stayed downstairs with the kids, her heart beating so fast that she felt it in her throat. A few seconds later, her husband called her name, but not loudly, just enough for her to hear. She went halfway up the stairs and saw him standing in the hallway. The closet was open. The cardboard they had wedged in the track was on the floor, bent in half. He looked at her and said, "I didn't do that." That night, they moved the kids into their bedroom. Nobody slept well. The next morning, Bee called our auntie in Fresno. Now, this auntie isn't a shaman, but she knows a lot of old Hmong beliefs because she's just an old auntie. Bee told her what had been happening, and the auntie asked if they had gone anywhere or done anything, or if that house had somebody that passed away in it. But Bee said that she didn't know. So her auntie told her to burn and cook some pepper throughout the house, so that way the smell of it will really irritate the spirits and hopefully kick them out. That was a superstitious Hmong belief, is that if you cook pepper, the smell of it will irritate any spirits that live inside the house. And if you've ever done it before, you'll know that it will irritate you as well, as it will make you cough and sneeze and your eyes water. After that, B started paying close attention to small things around their home. She told me that she noticed the air upstairs always felt heavier than downstairs. She didn't really explain it very well, so I didn't know what she meant, but she just said that it felt heavier. The kids' room was colder near the corner by the closet, and sometimes when she walked past the hallway mirror, she kind of felt like someone had just stepped away from behind her. Her son began covering his ears at random times, especially near the stairs. When B would ask him what was wrong, he would say, "She's crying." But B never heard anything. Her husband did, though. One Saturday afternoon, he was alone at the townhome while B took the kids to her mom's house. He was fixing the shower head upstairs because it had been leaking and not shooting water out nicely. When he was in the bathroom, he heard someone crying in the hallway. He thought that B had come home early and that one of the kids were upset. He opened the bedroom door and said, "Are you guys home already?" The crying stopped. He walked down the hallway and checked both rooms. Nobody was there. The front door was locked, the patio door was locked, and he later told B that he had never felt so stupid standing there with a wrench in his hand trying to look brave for no reason. That's when he finally agreed that they should ask someone to come and look at the house. They already tried the trick where you burn the pepper throughout the house, and that stopped the activity for a while, but it began again after a few months. But before they could get someone to come and take a look at the house, one of the scariest things happened. It was during the week, maybe close to midnight. B and her husband were in bed. The kids were sleeping on a small mattress on the floor of the room because the parents did not want them sleeping alone upstairs anymore. The room was dark except for the little light from a phone charger near the wall. B woke up because she heard her daughter whispering. At first, B thought that she was dreaming. Then, she heard it again. Her daughter said, "No, I can't go. My mom said no." B opened her eyes. Her daughter was sitting up on the mattress, looking toward the bedroom door. The door was closed. B whispered, "Who are you talking to?" Her daughter did not look at her. She kept staring at the door and said, "She said her mom is upstairs." Right after that, someone lightly scratched on the outside of the bedroom door. 3 slow scratches. B said that her whole body went cold. Her husband immediately woke up because he heard it too. He sat up and stared at the door. Her husband got mad and started shouting in Hmong, asking who it was and if it was a ghost or a human. After that, it was silent, and there was no response. So her husband got up and quickly opened the door, expecting to see somebody on the other side. B and her husband checked through the entire house, making sure that there was no robbers or anybody that got in. All the doors were locked like usual and all the windows were shut. They didn't sleep in their townhome after that. They packed the clothes, got their kids, and drove to B's parents' house. Eventually, they were able to get a shaman to come and do a ceremony there at their house. B didn't really tell me too much about the shaman ritual or the ceremony, but all I know is that after that it was a lot better. Eventually, her husband asked one of the neighbors if anything strange had happened there. The neighbor was an older Mexican lady who lived 2 doors down. She didn't seem surprised. She said that years before, a family had moved out very suddenly after their adult daughter got sick. She didn't know if the daughter died in the townhome or at the hospital, but she remembered seeing the ambulance come more than once. She also remembered the young woman having long black hair and how she used to sit upstairs by the window after she got too weak to go out. B said that she never knew if that story was connected, but after hearing that, she couldn't stay there the same way. They finished their lease and moved out. Before they left, B's father told her husband to not say anything about them leaving and make sure that the kids also don't say anything, just in the case that that spirit is still there. That story was years ago, and now B and her husband own a house. Their kids are a lot older. Her daughter doesn't remember much anymore, only that she had a quote-unquote friend in the old townhome who wasn't allowed to come downstairs. Her son doesn't remember it at all. When B tells the story, she always says that maybe it was just an old rental with bad wiring and a bad closet door. But then she gets quiet and says that sometimes it's not just bad wiring, especially when you hear and you see things in the house. Hey guys, quick message before the next story. As you know, due to everyone's undying support, our channel has seen tremendous growth in the past few months in comparison to the years since this channel has been created. As our community grows closer to 10,000 subscribers, I'm hoping to work with potential sponsors to help this channel grow even faster. This will give me the chance to try out different video formats and ideas, as I hope to one day talk in front of a camera instead of being a faceless voice. So, if all things go well, you might get a face reveal from me in the near future. If you're interested or know anyone interested in partnering up with this channel, reach out to my email listed in the description below. Thank you so much to everyone for supporting this channel, and here's the next story. This happened to me personally when I was living in Merced for school and work. I was raised in a not really traditional Hmong household. My parents were a little bit on the younger side, and they believed in certain things, but they were also practical people. They always told us not to be scared of every little noise because houses make noises, and sometimes when you are stressed, you make up noises in your own head. At least that's what they kind of gaslit us into believing. Because of that, I don't like to blame everything on ghosts or the supernatural. Even now, a part of me still tries to explain what happened. But there are a few things from that house that I cannot explain, no matter how many times I think about it. This was around 2018. I had moved into a townhome in Merced with my older brother and one of our cousins. I was taking classes and working part-time at a warehouse. My brother worked nights sometimes, and my cousin was almost always gone because he had a girlfriend in Fresno. So even though 3 of us lived there, I was alone a lot. The townhome was not old in a scary way. It was just plain. Beige walls, carpet that had been cleaned too many times, a small kitchen, 2-bedroom upstairs and 1 extra room downstairs near the garage. That downstairs room was supposed to be a small office or storage room, but we called it the back room because it was past the laundry area, kind of tucked away from the rest of the house. When we first moved in, I wanted that room for my computer setup. It was quiet and private, but after putting my desk in there, I realized that I did not like sitting in it. The air just felt still. Not cold, but just stale, like the room had been closed for a long time, even when the door was open. I told myself that it was probably because there was no circulation in that room. For the first month, nothing really happened. We all went to work, came home, cooked food, and stayed on our phones. My brother played games in the living room, and my cousin came and went. I studied at the kitchen table because I did not like the back room. I really wanted to put my computer setup in there so that way I could play League of Legends, but that room was just not it. The first strange thing happened with the laundry door. The laundry area had a folding door, and next to it was the door to the back room. Sometimes when I was watching TV late at night, I would hear one of those doors click. It was the same sound a door makes when the latch settles. At first, I thought it was the washer shaking or the dryer, but it happened even when we had not done laundry that day. It would just click, and sometimes I would pause the TV and listen. There would be nothing else after that. After a while, I got used to it. Then I started hearing something inside that back room. It sounded like paper moving, not footsteps or anything, just like somebody gently sliding papers across a desk. I still had a table in there. It was one of those white tables that Hmong people like to use for gatherings and eating and stuff like that. But there was no paper on that table. I had moved my books and computer back out because I didn't use the room, and the only things that were left in there were empty boxes, a broken chair, and a plastic bin of my winter clothes. One night, I heard that paper sound about 3 times in a row. It would kind of move and shift like a shh, shh, and then pause. I muted the TV and stared at the hallway. I remember thinking that maybe there was a mouse inside one of those boxes, and that explanation actually made me feel a lot better. Mice are annoying, but at least they're normal. I got up and I turned on the hallway light and opened the back room door. Nothing moved. The boxes were in the same place. The broken chair was leaning up against the wall, and the plastic bin was closed. But on top of that, there was one receipt sitting in the middle. I knew that that receipt had not been there before. It was old and faded, from a gas station in Merced. The date on it was from years earlier, before we ever lived there. I thought that maybe it had been stuck behind the table and the air from the vent blew it out. Again, I tried to explain it, and I picked it up and I threw it away and I shut the door. But it was kind of weird to me because why would there be a random receipt in that room? A few days later, another receipt appeared on the desk. This one was from a grocery store. Same thing, it was old and faded and not ours. I asked my brother and cousin if they were messing with me, and my brother said no. My cousin laughed and said, "Why would we have those receipts?" After that, I checked behind the table and under it. I mean, there really wasn't much to hide because it was just a normal table. But that was one weird thing with that room. The next thing happened to my brother. He came home at around 2:30 in the morning after work. I was asleep upstairs. He told me the next day that when he came in through the garage, he heard someone whisper from the back room. He thought it was me. He said, "What are you doing down there?" The whisper stopped. He walked over and saw that the back room door was cracked open. He pushed it open and turned on the light. Nobody was inside, but the room smelled like cigarette smoke. None of us smoked. The smell was not strong enough to fill the whole house. It was only inside that room, like someone had just been sitting there and left. My brother said that he shut the door and went upstairs fast. He did not even take off his work shoes until he got to his room. When he told me, I acted like it did not bother me, but deep down it did. Around that time, I started having weird dreams. They were not dramatic. This is what made them feel like it was real. In the dream, I would be standing in the kitchen at night and the house would look exactly the same. The microwave clock would glow green and the hallway would be dark. Then I would hear someone in the back room moving papers around. I would walk over and open the door. A man would be sitting at my table with his back to me. He wore a light-colored shirt. His hair was short. He looked like an ordinary middle-aged man. I never saw his face. He would keep looking down at the desk like he was searching for something. Then he would say, "It's not here." And that was it. I would wake up with my heart beating fast. The dream happened a few more times. I eventually told my mom about it, and she told me to put a small Bible near my bed if it made me feel safer. My mom's side of the family still goes to church, so she said that to try it and see if it helped. She said that sometimes when people are tired, their spirit can be weak, but if something is around, it can bother them more easily. After that, I avoided the back room completely. My brother and cousin did as well. We kept the door closed, we used the laundry area, but we didn't look into that room. For a while, that worked. Then, My cousin brought his girlfriend over for the weekend. She didn't know anything about that room. We never told her because we didn't want to sound weird, and to be honest, it just wasn't important. That Saturday night, we were all in the living room watching an anime movie. My cousin's girlfriend got up to use the downstairs bathroom, which was near the laundry area. She came back a minute later and asked, "Is someone in that room?" All three of us looked at her. My cousin asked her, "What room?" She pointed toward the back hallway and said, "The little room by the washer. I heard someone cough." Nobody said anything for a second. Then my cousin tried to laugh and said that maybe it was the dryer vents or something with the laundry machine, but I could see his face and I could tell he was a little nervous. Later that night, after everyone went upstairs, I stayed awake in my room. I kept thinking about the coughing. This was something that was new. I heard the paper, my brother heard the whispering, and we had smelled smoke at one point, but the coughing was something that was new. At around 3 a.m., I swore I heard what sounded like the back room door open downstairs. The sound carried through the whole townhome because everything was quiet. I sat up in bed and my brother's door was closed. My cousin and his girlfriend were sleeping in the other room, and I listened. There were slow footsteps downstairs, not walking around the living room, just 2 or 3 steps near the laundry area, and then silence. I picked up my phone and texted my brother, "Are you downstairs?" He replied almost right away, "No." Then he sent another text, "You hear it too?" That made my skin crawl. We both came out of our rooms at the same time. A couple seconds after, my cousin opened his door too, because he heard us open our doors. None of us wanted to go downstairs alone, so we all went downstairs together. We turned on every light as we went, and the back room door was open. Inside, the broken chair that had been leaning up against the wall was now standing upright in front of the table. On the table were 3 receipts. I remember my brother saying out loud, "Nope." My cousin's girlfriend got really nervous behind us, and he told her to go upstairs. We didn't touch anything. We just shut the door and put a chair in front of it. I know it sounds stupid, like as if a chair could stop anything, but that made us feel better in the moment. The next morning, we called the landlord. We didn't say it was a ghost, but we said that we thought that someone might have access to the townhome, or that maybe maintenance had gone through, or maybe there was a problem with the garage door. The landlord came and checked the locks, the garage, and everything, and it all was secure. There was no sign that anyone had entered. While he was there, my brother casually asked if anyone had lived there before us for a long time. The landlord said that there had been a man who had rented it before, but he moved out suddenly. He didn't give any details. He only said that the man had a lot of mail problems and unpaid bills, and sometimes people came looking for him. My cousin asked, "Did he smoke?" The landlord looked at him and said, "Yeah, why?" Nobody answered. After the landlord left, we opened the back room again. The receipts were gone. That was the worst part to me. If they had still been there, I could have told myself that maybe one of us had put them there and forgot, but they were gone. The chair was still upright. The table was empty. We stayed in that townhome for another 2 months because breaking the lease was expensive, and honestly, I was broke. We slept with lights on more than I want to admit, and my cousin moved out most of his stuff to his girlfriend's place, and my brother worked nights and tried not to come home alone. We never used the back room again. The last strange thing happened on one of the days before we were going to move out. We had loaded most of our things into a truck. The townhome was almost empty, and I went back inside to check the rooms one last time to make sure I wasn't leaving anything behind, and my brother was outside tying something down. My cousin was talking on his phone with his girlfriend near the parking lot. I walked through the kitchen, checked the cabinets, checked the bathroom, and stood in front of the back room. I didn't want to open it, but I also didn't want to leave anything behind, so I opened the door. The room was empty, except for the dust on the carpet. And then I saw something on the floor where the table used to be. It was a receipt. This one wasn't old and faded. It looked clean, like it had just printed. But there was no store name or no date or no total. The only thing that was on it was just one line of black ink. It was weird. It was just like a blank receipt with just a singular line of black ink. I stared at it for a few seconds, and then I just decided to leave it there. I didn't pick it up. I just walked out, locked the door, and gave the key back. Some people have told me that it was a prank. I thought that maybe my brother did it or my cousin had did it, but they swear that they have never done it. Every now and then, when I smell cigarette smoke in a place where nobody is smoking, I still think about that room in Merced. I think about that man in my dreams, sitting at my table looking for something that he couldn't find, and I think about that empty receipt. To this day, I don't know if that was an experience that was related to the paranormal, or perhaps there really was somebody playing a prank on us. But that was my story. Thank you for listening. I don't know about that last story, guys. I mean, a receipt showing up in the room? That's just a little, I don't know, it's just so weird. Like, I feel like it's a little too, the story was going good until it was like, oh yeah, the receipt showed up. But that's just my personal opinion. Maybe it actually did happen, and there was just this one ghost that was really obsessed with his finances, and he had a bunch of loan sharks after him or something. And so even after he died, he was stuck repeating the action of looking for money or looking for receipts. Maybe he wanted to get the receipt so that way he can go and get his refund from different stores and stuff like that to pay off his debt and his loan. And in the end, he got murdered, and they tossed his body into the water and weighed his body down so that way the body wouldn't float up to the surface. It was like the mafia or the loan sharks. But I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about that story. But that's the end of the video. Let me know what you guys think about the video in the comment section below. Remember, consider becoming a YouTube member and leave a like and subscribe. We are so close to 10,000 subscribers, and I'm so close to getting all the adult beverages I've ever wished for. Thank you everyone for watching. I will see you all in the next one.